Once you do this, you're never going to want to go back to the way that you used to do the endings of cycles. Welcome to tea time. Today we're going to embody some main character energy for spilling all the tea in our entrepreneurship journey. I felt like this would be a great topic because we all live in cycles. It is a natural part of how we operate. Sometimes our cycles are really short and sometimes they're long, but if there's one thing we all collectively experience, it is a cycle of the year, and it is a cycle of the new year and then the end of the year. So we're all at the end of a collective cycle. And it's a really great time to reflect on how do we end the other things that happen in our business. So here at Sensible Woo, I really like to make sure my clients learn the art and the skill of making really empowered decisions. We are not just reacting to things, we are actually making conscious choices and decisions so that things don't happen to us, but we are an active part of making things move forward or change or begin or end. And in this case, we're going to talk about the endings. I really feel like you can get to your true higher self in the most empowered version of you when you slow down and you really examine how you react versus how you make conscious decisions and choices. So here's the truth. This is honestly the harder path. I'm sorry to tell you that, but it is so worth it. Once you do this, you will not want to go back to doing this any other way. And the first time you lead people through a very peaceful change, it might feel kind of weird, especially if you tend to avoid difficult conversations, or you tend to avoid conflict, or you find that you tend to get caught up in the energy and the emotions around you, which is what a lot of the empaths who I work with, myself included, tend to feel really frequently. And so you're kind of training a new muscle within yourself by doing this process. What you're going to find is that a lot of your inner child wounds might come up. You're definitely going to see it in the other people that you're dealing with. So at times you're going to feel a little bit like a parent, but it's such a beautiful gift to give to yourself, to reparent yourself, to help lead someone else who is unable to lead themselves through the ending of a cycle. And instead of everything just sort of exploding and happening to you, you can actually make sure that everybody gets into a win-win situation here. What I will tell you is that using this process is one of the fastest ways to shortcut your way towards increasing your own magnetism with your audience, because they feel this energy shift from you. They can tell that you walk your walk and you talk your talk, and it builds trust. We talk about building know, like, and trust. Well, in order to build trust, we really have to be able to lead people through difficult things. This also helps you increase your manifestations. It's really amazing how much the things we want to bring out into the world to make happen require us to end a cycle on something in order to make space for something new. So I think you're really going to love this process, and I'm going to break it down for you today in 4 steps. Okay, before we get to the steps, let's talk about a classic Buddhist meditation. I learned this years ago, and I'm sorry I can't remember exactly where I picked it up, but the gist goes like this. When you are in meditation, you consciously choose to breathe in the sort of brown, smoggy air around you, not literally the smog, hopefully not, but energetically there are, negative things around us all the time. And when you consciously choose to bring it into yourself and then filter it through your body and act as an actual walking filter, breathe out, transform the energy and breathe out a pink, loving light. It is one of the most profound and amazing things. You realize how much you are entirely capable of being an agent of transformation. And when you can feel that, you can transform any of the other things that you want to do on your project list, on your to-do list, on your goals list, with all of your offers and your sales. You'll discover that you have all the power within you to make sure that those things happen. And it starts, ironically, with learning how to end things really positively. Step number 1, we are going to lead this process 100% from start to finish. You're going to initiate the beginning of the ending, which means if everyone's avoiding the conversation or it's come up but nobody's really taken the leadership role, you're going to take that role and you're going to initiate those conversations. On a very practical note, it might mean that you are actually booking conversations on the calendar. It might mean that you're actually making sure people get together to meet, that you're taking notes and making sure that everybody has the information that they need. But you're going to lead that all the way through to the end of the process, when the other party that you're ending this situation with has kind of, in effect, it's like you've taken them to the airport and you make sure that they get through security and you know that they've boarded the plane. And from there, it's the airline's job to take them on the flight to the next place. And so you in your business are going to take them to the airport. And this is the path that we're aiming for. So what we want to do is make sure that we lead that entire process and we don't drop that process at any point. If we drop the process, it would be the equivalent of like your job is to get them to the airport and you just sort of like drop them off on the side of the road along the way. We don't want to do that. So you are going to lead the whole process. And this is where you will notice other people's inner child wounds are going to come up, that they're going to avoid, getting in the car to go to the airport, or they're going to throw a few tantrums, or it's going to be difficult for them. And you are just going to lead that process so that you can get to the ending and not let the ending happen to you, but so that you can be a part of making sure that ending happens in your favor. Step number 2 involves never hesitating to have a difficult conversation. So you're going to make sure that if there's some process or some tool or some method that still hasn't been resolved, that you make sure that the resolution is completed, or at least the right people who will be finishing the completion have everything that they need. Now, this can also be a little bit frustrating because you might think, well, that's not exactly what I want to do here. I'm tired. I don't feel like it. But this is where you learn to be truly empowered in your journey. It is so powerful to learn how to exercise this muscle and feel the strength that you have inside of you to see this ending all the way through to completion. So have those difficult conversations. If you need to figure out what's going on with money, for example, that's usually one of the biggest sticky points. Have the conversation about money. If somebody owes you money, initiate the conversation. If you need to rebalance how something's paid for, or how the relationship is shared legally, call the lawyer, make sure those conversations happen, but it is up to you to make sure that that happens if the other party isn't initiating those pieces. The third part, I think, tends to be the most difficult one that I see a lot of people go through, and it just has to do with our emotions. What we don't want to do is match eye for an eye. That's not a very healthy karmic place to live in general. And doing this process in a business sense is going to trickle over into your personal life. You will probably discover that you have much healthier relationships in your life when you start doing this process in all the areas of your life. But business is a really, really great place to start. So basically, if somebody else is angry or being passive aggressive toward you, you're not going to match that eye for an eye. Apples to apples, oranges to oranges, you're not going to do that. I'm going to say this with a very clear caveat here. We do not tolerate abuse around here. If somebody is being abusive, you have every right to end the relationship. But remember, this process that we're talking about is where things aren't happening to you. You are leading the process. So if you're firmly in the leadership seat and somebody is being really inappropriate and being very passive aggressive and very toxic in a really unhealthy way, you can lead the process quicker and get everyone to the point of completion and make sure that you've tied up all your loose ends so that you don't have to keep going back into the toxic situation, which means that you have to keep dealing with them. We don't want to do that, which is why this process is so powerful, because it's going to help you get through that process once and for all and just be done with the ending of it all. So what we want to do is make sure that if somebody is acting that way toward you, recognize where that energy is all theirs and where your emotions then begin. It will help you feel your way through the situation and be more grounded. If somebody is giving you negative emotions It will just give you more data about what's really happening in this situation, probably a lot of confirmation about why you're actually initiating the ending of the situation. But I think that you'll find that not reacting emotionally puts you back in the driver's seat of making conscious decisions and choices, and you'll feel so much more empowered to move forward and also complete that a lot faster. The fourth part of this is how powerful it is for you to be the person that gives other people evidence of strong, healthy, and peaceful endings. I've noticed in the world, in my personal life and in my business life, how much people just sort of let things happen and it gets real messy real quickly. And I always like to say, I like to keep the reality TV on the TV. So that's what we're gonna try to do here. And what we wanna do is give evidence and demonstrate to everyone what real leadership looks like. It is not easy. Sometimes real leadership requires you to go to places that you just haven't gone to before, emotionally, cognitively, energetically, and you have to remember that this is not a forever situation. But when we let endings drag on and on and on, they do become a lot more painful when they honestly don't need to be. So you being the leader in this situation is amazing because you are helping other people realize that they also don't have to let endings drag on and on and on. Change is hard, but change is necessary, and it's happening all the time. Just as we're seeing right now in the calendar year, we're ending one solar calendar year, and we're about to start another one. The change is already here. So why not learn to embrace that change? It'll allow you to feel more flexible, feel like you can pivot more in the coming year. I bet you it will help you release stronger offers. You'll offer things better, you'll have better launches because you're gonna be in this mode of, I'm in control of the situation, I'm fully empowered, I can lead everybody through difficult things and easy things. And the easy things just become even easier when you're comfortable in those difficult endings. Now, some endings are not difficult at all. They're just simply endings. It's just time. For example, the incubator at Sensible Woo runs for 12 months. And my clients told me that they prefer having support between December 31st and January 1st because collectively that energy is really hard. So we actually run from April and then we go through the whole year to the following year in March. So we don't go from January to December. And so eventually the 12-month cycle will be over. It's a happy ending. It's a very empowering ending. Everybody is really excited. A lot of people choose to renew and then they start over again. But they're not just continuing on. There really is an end to the previous cycle and a start to the fresh cycle. So not all endings are bad ones, but learning how to discern your role in the endings of things is really critical. It's one of the most powerful things you can do at the end of the year to reflect on this. One of the things I would recommend that you do is take a moment on New Year's Eve and just lightly reflect what happened in this previous year when it came to ending cycles. Do you have anything that's sort of lingering or hanging on? And how can you empower yourself in January to start taking action on moving through the ending of that cycle so you can make space, have more spaciousness for really, really great things to come in for you in the coming year. So with that, I'm going to leave you with a big happy new year. Thank you so much for helping me kick off my YouTube channel this year. I would really appreciate your subscribes and your likes. So go ahead and click the subscribe button below. Go ahead and click that little bell so you get notifications when I put new videos out. And I would love to hear your thoughts on endings. Leave me a comment. Tell me about how you're going to take the power back in the new year in your life and how you're going to try seeing an ending all the way through so that you become the leader in your entire experience. And I bet you'll notice that you have some really big changes because of it. So have a wonderful, safe new year, change over into the coming year, and I will see you next week with a fresh video to help us kick off a very magical year.